So now we're going to transition to our next panel of Elevate Ambassadors. Go ahead, Veronica.
Hi, my name is Dr. Veronica Peniotu, and I'm the Advocacy and Program Manager at NCCS. I want to again thank you for joining us today and for our sponsors that make programs like these possible. Our mission at NCCS is to advocate for the quality of cancer care of those touched by cancer. Our next panel is a group of our Elevate Ambassadors. And they will share how they have built projects and programs in their local communities that support the needs of those touched by cancer. So Shelley, take it away.
Thank you, Veronica. Hello. So we have with us Sandra Fields, Lou Lanza, and Tamron Little. So I'm going to let each of you first introduce yourselves, starting with Sandra.
Hi, thanks, Shelley. My name is Sandra Calloway-Fields. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. My program is CS Fit, or Cancer Survivor Fitness.
Thank you. Lou?
My name is Lou Lanza. I'm from the Philadelphia area. My project was a men's support group. Well, we couldn't call it a support group. We had called a men's breakfast in the cancer support community of Greater Philadelphia and Ridgeland at the Fairmount Park in Philadelphia.
Great, thank you. And Tamron.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tamron Little, a 17-year and counting peritoneal mesothelioma survivor. I live in Orange Park, Florida, right outside of Jacksonville, and my project is WITS, Women Inspired to Thrive in Survivorship.
Great, thank you. Okay, so my first question is, what are the survivorship needs of your local communities? And we'll start with you, Tamron.
So one of the things that I figured out, these past 17 years is that cancer survivorship is a total different ball game than when you're actually in treatment. And I did not know that. So with that said, one of the needs is a sense of community. And for women especially, to know that resources are there and that they are not alone, but that sense of community, which is why I created the project WITS.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Lou, what about you?
Yeah, we used to have a support / breakfast every year, and after the pandemic, it dried up. So my goal was to get it rebooted. And the community I'm in Philadelphia, Greater Philadelphia area, was mostly diverse and underserved. So there's certain cancers that men have don't like to speak in mixed company. So I thought it important to have the men in a safe space to be able to talk about their problems and just talk about anything if they wanted to talk about their cancer or treatments or anything else, but just a place where they could isolate just the men so they didn't have to speak in code.
In front of the women.
Thank you. Sandra?
What I've learned from the community is the biggest challenge was movement, getting people up, getting them moving, other than just going to like a physical therapist. So education, financial support, and then compassion. Because I had to realize, and the words of my daughter is, not everybody is as strong as you, Mom. So I had to realize that need was great to educate first, that, have the survivor understand why it's important for them to move, get the blood flowing. And then we have to look at the financial aspect of that, as far as were they able to go to a physical therapist? Is that the reason why they wasn't? Because they couldn't afford it. So a lot of that came into play, and that helped me develop that program, CS Fit, to give them, a place they can do gentle exercises. They're able to get up and move, and we educate them on why it's important for them to move.
Wonderful. Thank you. The next question is, what is the most important lesson you learned from implementing your project? And we'll start with you, Sandra.
The most important thing that I've learned was that the caregiver needed to participate. we see the survivors, but the drive wasn't there. So I had to talk to the caregiver, that would actually drop the person off. So, to the fitness program. And in doing so, talking to them, getting them involved, it actually uplifted their survivor and got their survivor more to participate in the program. So I think the caregiver played a very important role in getting the survivors to come out. So they was motivating them, they was coaching them, and they was just bringing them on with them.
Wonderful. Thank you. Lou?
Yeah, what I got was a way for the male population to explore all avenues of their of what resources were available to them, and make that available to them, and make sure that they knew where to go, how to go, and somehow engage them where they're at, and be able to get them to come out to these things. And it's actually a needed resource that they actually need. They might not know they need it, but it's very important for them to be in that space.
Thank you. Tamron?
So my thing is that you can't do this alone. I can relate to when Sandra said that her daughter said that not everyone is strong as you, Mom, because once we have conquered this disease and we finish with treatment and things, then we have all of these plans and the things that we want to do, and it is great things. And then when we get in the thick of it, we're like, wow, I can't do this by myself. I have all of the ideas, I have all of the plans, so one of the things that I learned is that collaboration is key. And learning how to really be intentional about partnering with other advocates, with different organizations, and things like that, and really building that sense of community. So like what I was saying before, so that you are not alone, and that you don't have to do this alone. So one of the things with WITS that I love to do is the candid conversations on cancer, which is, when I invite other women cancer survivors and we talk about, things that are relatable to other women cancer survivors. So that's just an example of how I partner with other advocates, and even women that didn't even know that they were advocates, and didn't even know that they will be sharing their story on a platform. But it just goes to show that when we get together, we can definitely accomplish so much more than rather doing it alone.
So true. Thank you. The next question I have is, what was the biggest challenge in addressing survivorship needs in your community that you faced? Let's start with you this time, Lou.
Yeah, the biggest challenge I see, especially in my community, I'm involved with a lot of different organizations. I tell everybody I do a lot of stuff. I don't do anything well, but I do a lot of stuff, and I'm engaged with the public weekly, if not daily. The way to get the word out to the people that they might not know they need help, but I want them to know that they really do need help, and sort of frame it in the word that I'm not preaching to them, but just trying to get them along in their journey, just to make their journey easier, and make sure that the resources I'm available to, that they know how they can reach out to me at any time. And especially with the men's group, we always talk about different organizations I'm involved with and how they can access their helps and needs.
So I'm just going to follow up with you before I move on to Sandra, but can you talk a little bit about when you say if they're not aware of the need, that they need help, and how do you kind of break down those barriers with the men that you work with to help them see that it's okay to talk about the challenges and that there are people there willing to help them?
Well, as especially you and Veronica know, the men population we all think we're tough. We don't need any help or anything, but in this journey, everybody needs help. We're all one person, and you always try to be the tough guy, and they probably know that they need help, but they don't admit it. So I try to frame it that I was on this journey for 19 years, and anything I can do and I've learned in those 19 years, I'm available to give them that information and how it'll ease their pain. And actually, as everybody knows me, I'm a big proponent of the caregivers, and that would take some of the burden off the caregivers, because if they can get help from other people, they won't have to lean on their caregivers as much as they usually do.
Great, thank you. Sandra, how about you? What is the biggest challenge that you faced in your community?
For me, it's fear. Fear of the whatnot, the unknown. That's the biggest challenge that I had, and finding a way to break that that barrier, that from being people just thinking, and survivors thinking, hey, I may become a guinea pig. I don't know about this medicine. So it was a lot of work in just breaking the barrier of fear. And doing so, you have people to come around, you have them talk more about what's going on with their lives. Even the men, going directly to them. Like, Lou, I didn't went to barbershops and talk to men. You have to meet people where they're at to break that barrier, that hold that fear has on them. So support, from others, support groups. That's one of the biggest challenges, I would think, is that fear that I had to overcome with a lot of people.
And Tamron, how about you?
I definitely can relate to Lou and Sandra in regards to the challenges. But the biggest thing for me is actually reaching the survivors and getting them to participate. Sometimes it's a little hard, coming from like a social media standpoint, because pretty much, what social media was originally created for is to, share things with, people that are in various locations and, things like that. But over the years, we have definitely transformed it to, something different, so we can reach those women cancer survivors. But in reaching them effectively, and I'm going into like the marketing terms, but converting them, like, the ROI, and just, making sure that the call to action is there, and it is, but actually getting them to participate. So even if I share something about a support group or something that's going on locally in their areas, really, getting them to come to the event or to, come to the actual live. And, I'm sure that a lot of people may experience this, but, you have your faithful few, so to speak. And, but it's just like, darn, if I can even reach more. And I know that a lot of people, when they're starting off their projects, this, can be a challenge. But over the past year, I just said to myself, I'm going to put the information out there. I'm still going to remember, why I started, and whoever I reach, it's a purpose of me reaching them. And don't think about the people that are not there, but the people that are actually participating. And then that way you can reach more people, because a lot of things travel by word of mouth. So, if one lady came to an event or came to, set in on a live, and she shared it with her sister, and her sister shared it with her cousin, that's how, that's the type of community and tight knitness that I want to create. But yeah, it is definitely a challenge, and especially if you're the only person trying to head all of this. So yeah.
So before we move on to the last question, I have a couple of questions I wanted to ask. Sandra, would you tell us a little bit more about the CS Fit program? Like, what does it look like, and how do you get people involved? And I mean, I know that movement is so important, and people don't always realize that. We've had some webinars and on the need for exercise during and after treatment, and people don't really understand how much that helps their outcomes. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing, but can you tell us what it looks like? And I love how you talked about engaging the caregivers as well. Do they participate, or just engaging them to sort of get their loved one to participate?
So, going back to CS Fit, it was birthed off of me after I had, to undergo hip replacements, both of them. And I would go and walk around the Y while my daughter would participate in the actual, fitness instructor-led classes. So I went into the class and I began to modify all the exercises. And the instructor, which she's now is leading the class for CS Fit, I brought her along with that. And what it looks like is we do the fitness, and she went ahead and got certified because she's passionate about what I'm doing. So the training is based off of each individual survivor, because some of us can do floor exercises. Some of us maybe need to sit in a chair, so it's different levels to the fitness. And what we do, we train you on how to do certain things on your own at home that will help you, 15 minutes a day. And you can break it up. You can do 5 minutes in the morning. You can do 5 minutes when you're at work. You can do 5 minutes later on. The goal is just to get you moving and get that blood flowing. We also offer like little flyers, little pamphlets that educate them more about why we're doing what we're doing. And the instructor, like I said, she went and got certified on it. What she does is she also teaches you how to properly sit in a chair, how to get up from a chair. So it is more involved than just, the movement. It's about correcting your posture, about how you should eat. So it's a lot of different little functions made into that. And also, I had to have a place to hold it. So talking with, like I said, you have to talk to people, talking with my church, my local church, the pastor and the committee agreed to let us use an old dance room. So, people come on board. So, we put out flyers. I still walk around the gym, so I pass out flyers there. And it's constantly getting people involved. Even if they're not a survivor, they know someone. And having a caregiver, they participate also, because when I was down and I couldn't maneuver like I wanted to, it was my husband that had to lift me up, that had to help me do things. So he relied on his strength. So I needed to make sure he was strong enough to care for me. So that's what we, lead with caregivers. Are you strong enough to help your survivor? What do you need from us? And that's how we bring them in, because they want to have that strength when that survivor needs it.
Yeah, and also just
Wow.
taking care of yourself so that you can be there for the person. I think people, when you're taking care of somebody, it's easy to let go of that. And thank you for reminding me. You made me sit up straighter, Sandra. Posture is so important. Lou, I have a question for you from the audience. Asked, how did you specifically get the word out to men? Did you work through doctors or social workers or community programs?
I all the organizations and the symposiums I go to, I've always reached out to the women to see how to engage their partner, their husband, their brother, their father. That's where most of my knowledge came from. I married the smartest woman in the world, or she was, and till she decided to make me go to Jefferson. But anyway, but the reason I did it is that you have to go to the mountain. You got to make sure. And like I said, I'm engaged with patients all the time at Jefferson. I see all types of patients and shapes, sizes, religions, races. But you talk to them one-on-one, you get them in a space one-on-one. And like I said, I like to talk to the caregivers to make sure that they know that their people are taken care of. There's other avenues. They don't have to lean on the caregivers all the time. So that program that I'm doing is making sure that the caregivers I'm actually helping the caregivers too, which I really enjoy. And I have caregivers coming too, male caregivers. And we have the best discussions are when there's a caregiver in a room with the survivors, because they bounce off each other. You know, that we have interchangeable ideas and what they're going. Like I said, I don't know what my wife went through. She doesn't know what I went through, but you could get the perspective of a caregiver, and what you touch. It's important to go to the mountain. You got to go where they're at. You know, there's a lot of I wear the NCS buttons all the time, and I give them out. I'm down the shore all the time. Oh yeah, well I have a program, and I've had people come to the program getting an adult beverage down the shore in South Jersey. I'm always on board. A buddy of mine, John Bueller, always said, never stop talking. You don't know if the guy behind you is listening to you, and he might pick up on that. So it's any avenue I get to talk out, I try to do it. I don't do it in movies or concerts or anything, but I'm available to talk to anybody at any time. I'm not exactly shy, as most of the people on this call know.
Yeah, truly an ambassador. So Tamron, tell us a little bit more about what it looks like. You'd mentioned the candid conversations, and I know you talked about events, but kind of tell us a little bit more about what the program looks like.
So it's pretty much an online community on Instagram specifically for women cancer survivors to put them in touch with the resources for navigating cancer survivorship. So I definitely myself, I partner with a lot of organizations. So I'm able to share the information on my WITS page as well. So just being like the connector and that, connection to the resources that they might have not, known that was there. So it's just bringing it to the forefront, really honing in on women cancer survivorship. Because one of the things that I found out is that there's not a lot of women cancer survivor groups that are not specific to, most of them are specific to a certain cancer. For example, the cancer that I had is very, very rare. And it is a rare cancer and when women get it, it's even, I call it a double rarity. So I can't find a women's group that specializes in peritoneal mesothelioma, or I haven't found one yet. So, I wanted to really create something that all women cancer survivors, no matter what type of cancer that you had, would feel welcome and, would feel like that they can come and get the information and they can listen to the lives and just connecting to resources. And I, also found out, I get a lot of messages, about, oh, I did not know about this, or, thank you for that, and, things like that. So I'm really, really grateful with the tight-knit community that I have with WITS. And I do have plans and, goals to make it bigger, better, and, even bringing women together outside of social media. So we'll see how it definitely goes.
Thank you. Okay, so my last question for each of you is, What advice do you have for advocates looking to do this kind of work in their communities? And this time I'm going to start with you, Lou.
Well, actually, Sandra and you, Shelley, just touched on something tantamount. Sandra was talking about the caregivers, and Shelley was talking about the self-care. First of all, you yourself have to be in a space where you be able to help others. If you're not in a right mind, in the right space, you're not going to help anybody. You're going to be a burden to people. So first and foremost, that's where you have to be. And what you have to do is make sure that you come up with a plan, where you're going to meet, how you're going to meet, how you're going to get the word out. Who do you want to be there? How engaging do you want people to be? You get 5 or 6 guys, and some guys don't talk, some guys don't want to talk. You bring it out. We don't talk about cancer all the time. We could talk about sports. We could talk about music. But to get them in a room together, make them feel welcome, make them feel available, and make sure that they're not on this rock by themselves. And especially, like I said, some of the best sessions I have is with the caregivers, because we get bounce our information off each other, and we're more in tune with what we're going through if we know the people that are taking care of it, what they're going through. And like I said, I like it that I don't know, I hope to think that I take the burden off the caregivers, which I think are the heroes in all this. But again, you got to be in your own space. You got to have a place that's available where people can meet and set up times and what it is. And like I said, if you're talking to men, you can't say support. We changed the name 5 years ago. We called it a breakfast, and we got more action out of feeding people than saying we're supporting a kumbaya kind of thing. But it's like I said, self-care, getting caregivers engaged, and going to the mountain, getting people and putting the word out. And I mean, that's about it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Sandra, how about you? What advice do you have?
Well, you have to, when you establish what it is you want to do, like Lou was saying, first you got to take care of self. And then you'll be able to support and help others, and stepping out of your comfort zone. For me, taking 2 grandsons to the barbershop with a breast cancer shirt on and, saying, men get breast cancer too. That was an opening statement, for, the whiskers and everything to go up and say, hey, how? So you have to step out of that circle that you're in and look to others, talk to other doctors. I'm talking right now to a chiropractor that is giving me more exercises that can help my program. So you have to reach other people also. Don't be so inclusive. Think about, the other cancers, because I deal with all cancers also because of that. And just directly just ask people, hey, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And then just start making the plans and the steps. And, again, like Lou said, you have to find somewhere. Always talk to people that, know your goals and know what you're trying to achieve.
Thank you. Tamron, you get the final word.
I like that, Sandra. Just to kind of add on to what she was saying about the all cancers thing, I remember, I was looking for a support group or a group that was welcoming, and, and I thought I found one, but then, they had all the activities and things like that. And then it was like for breast cancer survivors. And I'm like, oh man, it's just like, and then it's like, oh, they're doing all of this, they're doing all of that. And it's like, okay, what about the other cancers? So, does not matter what type of cancer, but do your research. And while you're doing your research, just make sure, see if it's being provided in your community. And if it's not, just, partner with other people, ask questions, see what the needs are. And like Lou said, you know, make your plan, things like that. But one of the main things is to know that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And take things day by day. And, you know, just never forget why you started. Even on those tough days when you might have, you know, an event and you invited 100 people and 15 people came, you know, be grateful for those 15 people and try to cultivate and remember your why to help reach those 15 people. But, you know, just remember your why and keep going no matter when, you know, it just feels like, oh, why am I doing this? Remember why you're doing this. Remind yourself, you know, and that will just continue to give you the steam to continue to move forward.
Thank you. I love that. Remember your why. And that echoes what we heard in the first panel as well. Thank you, Tamron, Sandra,
Thank you.
for all that you do for survivors in your communities, and also for being here today to share your experience. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to invite Veronica to introduce our next session.